Welcome to a world where family secrets aren't just hidden, they're explosive. Here, every story uncovers betrayal lurking behind smiles, devotion mistaken for weakness, and loyalty repaid with contempt. Witness the silent games played behind closed doors, the whispered judgments that cut deeper than words, and the manipulations even the closest blood ties can't conceal. Every twist reveals shocking truths, raw emotions, and secrets your family might never admit. From quiet resilience turned into power to the ultimate reckoning of those who underestimate kindness and loyalty, these stories will grip your heart and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, trust, and family. This isn't just storytelling. This is a journey through the darkest corners of devotion, betrayal, and revenge, where every revelation can change destiny. Are you ready to see what lies behind the masks your family wears? It started with a video that felt like a punch straight to the chest. Faces that once promised love and safety were twisted with contempt, words dripping with cruelty, worthless burden. Every syllable cut deeper than anything imagined, because the house they sneered about had been built with devotion, every mortgage payment quietly carried, every sacrifice invisible. Loyalty had been repaid with venom, trust with laughter behind closed doors, and the realization that generosity could be mistaken for weakness burned like acid. The whispers had always been there, barely audible, but the camera caught them in their rawest form. The smiles in family photos were lies. The casual comments at holidays, the friendly advice, the pats on the back, all masks for judgment, a slow erosion of dignity, and a cruel game of appearances. And the person who should have been the strongest ally, the one who swore partnership in every sense, had been quietly complicit. Hints of betrayal had flickered in the past, dismissive remarks about contributions, subtle digs at capability, but they were shrugged off, dismissed as passing tensions. The video was proof that those passing tensions were deliberate, nurtured over years until they became an undeniable truth. It wasn't just humiliation, it was the revelation of control, manipulation, and secrecy. Every payment made, every hand extended had been measured and found wanting by those who should have known love. The house was more than bricks and mortar, it was the foundation of trust, now exposed as a theater of deception. And behind the facade, the one who had been sworn to be a partner in life and in love had remained silent, even participating in the judgment, letting family venom seep into what should have been shared loyalty. Pain twisted into clarity. Betrayal was no longer a whisper or a shadow. It was the center of every memory, every conversation, every shared moment that had been taken for granted. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, not reckless, but sharp and deliberate, a fire that demanded recognition. Because love and sacrifice could not be erased, and contempt would not be remained unchallenged. And in that burning realization, the first step toward reclaiming dignity and rewriting the story began. Every act of care had been a silent offering. Every sacrifice a quiet promise, and every effort to keep the family afloat was met with a cold, invisible ledger of judgment. The truth hit like ice. Devotion had been mistaken for weakness, generosity twisted into a reason for contempt. Words whispered behind closed doors, caught in stolen moments, painted a picture of disdain, of laughter aimed at efforts that were never noticed, never appreciated. The mortgage payments, the late nights balancing work and responsibility, the countless small gestures meant to support, they were seen not as acts of love, but as a burden, a target for mockery. It was unbearable, not just the humiliation, but the realization that those closest had weaponized trust and affection. The husband, the one who should have been a shield, a partner, a witness to sacrifices, had remained passive, at times even subtly confirming the ridicule. Loyalty had become a stage where devotion was tested and mocked, where every heartfelt effort was misread as an obligation to exploit. The heart twisted in anger and sorrow, recognizing that the bonds thought to be sacred were fragile and manipulated, and that the people counted on the most could be the architects of an emotional storm of torment. Memories that had once brought comfort now carried a sting. Shared dinners filled with veiled criticism, celebrations shadowed by judgment, quiet evenings where contributions went unnoticed. Each moment of love and support had been cataloged in secret, measured, and dismissed. And the betrayal cut deeper because it was silent, insidious, the kind that seeps into every corner of a home, eroding confidence, reshaping trust, and leaving the soul raw and exposed. The pain morphed into clarity. It was no longer heartbreak alone, but recognition. A recognition of manipulation, of cowardice, of a betrayal that ran deeper than words. Every ounce of care deserved acknowledgement, every act of devotion a witness. And the storm that rose in response was not merely fury, but a demand for truth, for reckoning, for justice that would not be ignored. And in that storm, the first real power emerged, the power to rewrite the story on terms that could no longer be denied. The house had always seemed warm, filled with laughter and the easy comfort of family. But the truth, long hidden behind polite words and forced smiles, revealed itself in the smallest moments. A glance exchanged across the room, a whispered comment caught by accident. Every interaction was a carefully constructed performance. Smiles were armor, laughter a distraction, and the conversations meant to feel casual were laced with calculation. Every act of kindness or patience had been quietly measured, weighed against unspoken expectations, and often twisted to serve someone else's advantage. The husband, the one sworn to stand beside through every trial, was a silent witness to it all. Sometimes he participated in the deception without a word, and other times he let it pass with a smirk, leaving the weight of judgment to fall on those who gave without question. The manipulation wasn't loud, it was subtle, creeping in through family dinners, holiday gatherings, and even whispered advice, each word a hidden dagger. The illusion of harmony shattered slowly, revealing envy, selfishness, and the cruel satisfaction of watching devotion misinterpreted as weakness. Every memory now carried a sting. Birthday celebrations where compliments were veiled barbs, holidays where generosity was mocked behind backs, quiet evenings where patience was repaid with subtle contempt. Even the closest blood ties were not immune. Those who should have been allies were architects of a private theater, crafting illusions that masked jealousy and resentment. The betrayal was suffocating, a suffocating realization that love and loyalty had been quietly cataloged and manipulated, their worth measured against secret standards no one had ever been told. Anger rose alongside sorrow, but clarity followed in its wake. The hidden schemes no longer had power once exposed. Every whispered insult, every strategic smile, every concealed motive became ammunition, proof that appearances could not erase the truth. The realization was both devastating and liberating. What was built on deceit could be unraveled, and the ones who thrived on manipulation were vulnerable when the veil was lifted. And in that revelation, the first step toward reclaiming control and reshaping every fractured bond became impossible to ignore. The moment the truth was no longer hidden, everything shifted. The quiet compromises, the late nights covering bills, the endless efforts to keep the family afloat, all of it had been dismissed, ridiculed, and even taken advantage of. But once betrayal was laid bare, the foundation of control trembled. Those who had mocked, judged, and belittled devotion realized too late that the quiet strength they had underestimated was not weakness, but resilience, and it was far more powerful than they ever imagined. The husband, the one whose silence had shielded complicity and whose smiles sometimes mirrored their own cruelty, finally faced the weight of exposure. Every secret they had kept, every whispered insult behind closed doors, every attempt to manipulate affection for selfish gain became visible in stark, undeniable light. The laughter that had once echoed across family gatherings turned hollow, replaced by a tension that could not be ignored. The house, the same walls that had witnessed ridicule and quiet suffering, now bore witness to the reckoning of carefully hidden truths. Anger had been building, slow and deliberate, fueled by years of devotion taken for granted and love repaid with contempt. But it was tempered by clarity. Every calculated slight, every betrayal became a step in a larger plan, a plan not born from rash vengeance, but from the deliberate power of resilience. Every effort to manipulate or dismiss devotion was met with an unyielding response, subtle but inescapable, until those who had underestimated kindness and loyalty began to realize the stakes had changed. The revelation itself was a weapon. It exposed greed, manipulation, and cowardice. It redefined alliances, shattered illusions, and forced reckoning on everyone who had assumed that quiet endurance could be exploited without consequence. The balance of power no longer rested with those who had mocked and undermined, but with the one who had endured, sacrificed, and observed in silence. And as the truth settled, the only certainty remained clear. Those who underestimated strength disguised as kindness would never dictate the story again. If this story left you shocked, heartbroken, or gripping your screen, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another family secret exposed. Comment below your thoughts. What would you have done in this situation? Every story here is real, raw, and unforgettable, and the next twist could be even bigger. Thanks for watching, and remember, loyalty can be powerful, but secrets always find a way to come to light.